I came up in urban America in the mid 90s, right before gentrification started becoming a thing. And so to say my experience is much different than any other, I mean, we can all say that, right? Like our experiences vary so greatly due to environment and circumstance and the world around us. So reading something like this kind of breaks my heart. It's coming to us from the New York Post. Why today's young men are terrified of sex. This is written by Eric Spitznagel. And guys, really? Like, y'all having issues? Like, you're scared of the strokes? Come on, man. Guys, you can do this. I believe in you. Let's get into this. Mason, a former college football player from suburban Milwaukee, was also 20 years old when he lost his virginity. I'm 15 here. So when you lose it is when you lose it. Good on you, Mason. It's a story you don't hear too often. Boys, we're told, are having sex younger and more irresponsibly than ever. But as author Peggy Orenstein learned while doing research on her new book, Boys and Sex, Young Men on Hookups, Love, Porn, Consent, and Navigating the New Masculinity. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why are you listening to a chick? Out now, the reality can be very different. For Mason, the simple act of kissing was something he largely avoided in high school, afraid that without enough experience he would do it wrong. I can see that, but I mean, really, it's nothing like one of the things I always appreciate about my dad was that he was like, "Look, I showed you how to. Well, not that he showed me how to kiss or anything else like that, but just go and do it, right? So if you see something and you see how it's done, and this was with driving and shaving and damn near, you see how it's done, and then go for it, all right? And that's exactly what it was for me, and making out, and it didn't particularly hurt that well. Because it's weird to say that it didn't particularly hurt, but I was taken advantage of by my adopted sister at a young age, at the like age of 8 or 9. So, I mean, I may not have known how to kiss the upper lips, but I definitely knew how to kiss the lower lips. So, so I guess it wasn't that. It was something that, like, different environments, different people. Jesus, but come on, Mason, come on. He thought he was just supposed to know, writes Orenstein. Even holding hands felt like it came with a risk of humiliation. When he went to college, he met a girl, Janine, who invited him back to her dorm room to fool around. He wasn't able to perform and blamed it on the weed he'd smoked the night. Oh, stop it. He'd been smoking the weed he'd been smoking all night. Really blaming on the bud. And hold up, you're a football player on a scholarship. So Dudley, that suburban town in Milwaukee, like you had to be the man. Like if not the man, then like have enough notoriety to cut something. I don't know. There's something about Mason's story here that's just it doesn't particularly add up to in my book. She texted him the next day, inviting him over to try again. But the more he thought about it, Orenstein writes, the more anxious he became. Once again, his attempts at intimacy fizzled. Really? Football player? That's in school? Like, I don't know, man. For Orenstein, who spent 2 decades writing about the sexuality of girls with bestsellers like Girls and Sex and Don't Call Me Princess, Mason's predicament was difficult to take seriously at first. Like many of us, she brought into the cultural stereotypes that all guys are sexually insatiable, she writes, ever ready, incapable of refusal, regret, or injury, an idea that just reinforced the most retrograde idea of masculinity. Huh. I'm still thinking about this girls and sex and don't call me princess in the book she's already written. And this is coming from her book, which means like, so what is Mason anonymous? Do we know who Mason is? Because people could just make shit up. You do realize that, right? Like, I don't mean to be a dick about this. I mean, guys, if you're really going through something like that, let me know in the comments. But this feels like bullshit. Because you're talking about like a football player who was good enough to go to college. Was it a scholarship? Let me go back and check. Uh, okay, it doesn't say if he's a college football player, so he was good enough to perform. I assume he was playing in school, in high school, and like, and So thusly, there was females like throwing them some cut. Like I don't know, man. Like something about this story doesn't particularly add up. Let's okay, so let's get into the rest of this. So over the span of 2 years, Ornstein spoke to hundreds of boys across the United States, ranging in age from their early teens to mid-20s, and spanning all races, socioeconomic backgrounds, religious beliefs, and even sexual orientations. She learned that a surprising number of them don't give up to gender cliches, meaning they aren't hormone-driven Frankenstein's monsters. They never were. Obsessed with sex and unconcerned with their consequences. Why wouldn't they be, particularly in the age of child support? Jesus. In fact, they're pushing back against cultural expectations, and many are going as far as to avoid sex altogether. I wouldn't recommend it. Sorry, guys. Like, I mean, shoot, the only thing that serves is experience, right? So I personally won't recommend it, but hey, to each their own. Even though there's this, I don't know, there's something about that story, that Mason story, that doesn't particularly add up. But let's continue. According to the latest data by the General Social Survey, men between the ages of 18 and 29 are having less sex than ever. The number of absent whatever men has nearly tripled in the last decade, from 10% in 2008 to 28% last year. But as Orenstein discovered, it's a movement that exists largely in secret rather than declare their abstinence. What do you think incels are? They come up with excuses for their lack of sexual interest, like the college sophomore Ornstein interviewed, who frequently faked whiskey schmeat to avoid hookups, or Mitchell in Los Angeles, who avoided sex with his high school girlfriend for years because he was terrified that his sexual ability would just be sufficient. Something about these stories, man. Like there's something really odd about these stories. While girls struggle to find the magic middle ground between prude and slut, boys are pushed to be as sexually active as possible, Orenstein writes. It's not push, it's a biological wiring. You get the boner, you want to do something with it. To knock out their first regards of the circumstance their first regardless of the circumstances or how they felt about their partners. Nate, high school junior from the San Francisco area, is terrified of sex because he's certain the girls in his peer group already have more experience than him. Hey Nate, they do. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but Nate, yeah, they probably do, my guy. She's going to know how to do things you won't, he told Orenstein. That's a problem if she tells people you've got floppy lips or don't know how to get her bra off. He wants to have a girlfriend someday, but for now, Nate says, I'm afraid of intimacy. So if this is true, Nate, my guy, deal is that this is like so many females are just sexualized very, very young. It starts early. And boom, like I can kind of get behind Nate right here if Nate's a real guy. This paralyzing fear of sexual inadequacy begins. Well, I mean, not the sexual inadequacy part, but her being more experienced. I can somewhat see that, but not the sexual inadequacy thing. It's just like, yo, bro, you get in there and you catch those strokes, my guy. The paralyzing fear of sexual inadequacy begins for many boys with online pornography. Sexually explicit videos have never been so easy to find. In 2018, Bitdefender study shows that 22% of online porn is watched by kids under the age of 10. Well, that's just bad parenting. And it's warping their formative ideas about sex. Once again, bad parenting. Now, I came up when before the internet. So, yeah, but there were still sex tapes around. Definitely watch those. And you watch it and kind of like, okay, guys. So, the first technically porn thing that I ever watched were better sex videos that my cousin owned. And we go and take them down and check them out, and it was all about, oh yeah, you gotta be good to the woman. You gotta make sure she gets off. I'm telling you. So am I warped? Probably. I have absolutely no doubt about that. But these are supposed to be examples for when you are in these situations and you're able, it's supposed to, like, well, the way I saw it, and yeah, because I was like 10, 11 years old at the time when I stumbled across those videos. It's like, yeah, it's oh, okay, so that's how that's done. All right, good. Now I'm ready. Now I know. But apparently, these kids are just like, oh my goodness, I'm paralyzed by it. My goodness, it's warping their formative ideas about sex. Mason has been watching porn since he was 14, and he claims it convinced him that a hot woman would just magically appear and offer herself up to him. Really, my guy? You know you gotta say hi, right? If you're a real person. That was my whole perception of how it was supposed to go, he said. While the boys who spoke to Ornstein admit that porn is about as authentic as pro wrestling, a 2016 study from London-based Middlesex University found that 53% of teen boys believe that the sex acts featured in porn are mostly realistic. I mean, it depends on what acts were, because the in and out penetration, I mean, the game's the game, isn't it? I mean, right? Everyone watches porn and gets super nervous about their size. A college sophomore from college told Ornstein. I mean, it's brutal. Okay, college sophomore, can you talk for everyone? Because I've never complained. I know I ain't the biggest guy in the world, but shoot, man, shoot, you gonna feel it. I mean, it's brutal. Like, if you're in the locker room, you're going to turn around and try to hide yourself. You're not going to change in front of other guys. I want to attribute some of this to the single motherhood, because it's like, seriously, you got just no confidence at all. What happened? But it's not always porn doing the most damage. Porn may offer the most ridiculous representations of sex, but mainstream media can spread just as much misinformation, and it's more difficult for younger audiences to separate fact from fiction. That I will give you as points. Mason had recently been watching the David Duchovny TV comedy Californication. Oh wow, yeah, that's gonna help. About a womanizing novelist in Los Angeles. The sexual exploits are just slightly unrealistic, Mason says. Like, the main character has sex with everyone wherever he goes. They made it seem so convincing. Well, then why are you watching that show? I wasn't a big fan of that show either. The show that was most comparable was Dream On. But even then, I knew I'd have to say hello. Like, come on. That's why you're supposed to build a personality and have character, and be able to make her laugh and get her interested and get that yes up out of her. I mean, come on, man. And honestly, all you got to do is really just make out. And after, like, once you can make out with the chick, then the rest of it is just get to her neck, get to the back of her neck, man. And the rest of it is just game, set, match. Whereas if you were to watch porn video where a dude comes in with his sex organ in a pizza box, seriously, like, what kind of porn are you guys watching? It's like, all right, obviously that isn't going to happen in real life. Okay, I don't know, this pizza box scenario, because you do know there's a thing called brassers, right? Like, there's the hub that people go to. Trust me, the pizza box scenario has been long exercised. That's why I'm not really believing some of these stories, man. Dylan, 17, is a high school junior in Northern California. He's handsome, athletic, a straight-A student, captain of the soccer team. He's also, until recently, a virgin. He had drank too much at a friend's party and passed out on the couch, where him and his friend Julia, who was sober, found him. She dragged Dylan stumbling to the bathroom and had sex with him on the floor. I don't know. I'm not believing that. Like, there's something off. I need more evidence to really take it seriously. I'm sorry, but Dylan, do you have a police report? The next morning, Dylan was horrified and asked Julia why she forced herself on him. I didn't want to do that, he told her, insisting he wanted his first time to be special. Instead of her dragging him, like, oh, he was sober, so she found him and dragged Dylan stumbling to the. I don't know. There's something about that. I'm not saying that it couldn't be true. I can't tell you what Dylan weighed and what Julia weighed. She might have just picked them up and took. This might be a real story, and I do not want to come across flippant in that regard. But like, she picked them up. She didn't pick him up. She dragged him to the what's name to the bathroom and smashed him while he was completely passed out. All right, you know what? We'll like I said, before we got to this story, I was questioning the validity of some of these stories. So yeah, we're gonna keep this one with a huge question mark next to it. I didn't want to do that, he told her, insisting he wanted his first time to be special. Oh, please, she shot back. Don't give me all that all guys wanted. But they were friends. Like, it's, I don't know, it's the dialogue that's striking me as inauthentic. It was a bias that even Ornstein admits to having. She was shocked by how often the boy shared stories of being on the receiving end of one unwanted sex, which girls didn't hear or didn't respect. No, Ornstein writes. It was it forced entry? The boys she interviewed weren't sure. She recalls a college sophomore who told her of losing his virginity at 14 to a 17-year-old girl at his first high school party. He didn't want to do it, he says, but was too drunk and too worried about rumors she might spread to leave. Well, okay. So here's the deal: we're talking about like underage drinking and the like. Then a lot of this is falling on parents and them not, like a lot like checking up on their kids and making sure that their kids are like nice and tight. And trust me, as someone who's been to plenty of these types of parties and the like, yeah, you need somebody's house to have the jump off that. Okay, like somebody parent don't give a fuck. And as a parent, it's your job to figure out who parent it is and make sure that you keep a real close eye on your kid at that point. Like if it's the guy who didn't consent, he asked Ornstein, "What do you call that?" Well, you call that forced entry. According to 2017, a study at Columbia University, 80% of victims of sexual assault were women, but men were also being increasingly targeted, with 1 in 8 male students reporting being coerced into non-consensual sex. And in a 2017 study at New York University, sociologist Jesse Ford interviewed 40 straight male and female college students about their sexual experiences. Most men admitted that they would have sex even if they didn't want to, because guys should always be down to smash. Rejecting an invitation to sex was considered unmanly or gay. Okay, you know what? This is starting to come across as propaganda to an extent. Like this is really starting to feel like propaganda. How much more we got to go? Because like it's all you're doing is reinforcing. It's trying to reinforce like stereotypes that honestly like it's like you're trying to like the same stereotypes that you claim you're trying to smash are the same ones that you're invoking in me as a man at a biological level. Because wait a second, some of this smells like shit. Okay. Oh my goodness. When young men have sex forced upon them, it sends mixed signals and makes it harder for them to understand the concept of consent altogether. If they can't say no, Ornstein writes, how are they supposed to hear it? The solution for all isn't what most parents want to hear. They need to have a straightforward talk with their sons about sex. I know it's awkward. I know it's excruciating. I know it's unclear where to begin, Ornstein writes, but this is your chance to do better. Well, that's the thing. This is so parenting. It all comes down to parenting. I was okay. Bet. I mean, because the bulk of this is like, oh yes, we have to make this new masculinity and the stereotype of the overly aggressive male, or the male who can't be scared, or the male who always wants to get down. Like deal is that for the most part, it is our biological nature. Okay, how that nature is harnessed and honed is really a matter of environment and upbringing, which is why the two-parent nuclear home is so damn important. I don't want to sit here and dismiss if these are real stories, right? Because I personally, I have my doubts. But if they are real stories, I don't want to sit here and dismiss them at all. But at the same time, we do have our biological natures. And as far as all these like super aggressive females that just taking advantage of passed out drunk dudes, I mean, shoot, it happens. I'm not even gonna lie. I've known stories of it to happen. But at the rate in which, this kind of seems to be boosting it, nah. Nah. And for the and then you also have the part of a lot of it being underage and a lot of underage drinking, which always takes it back to, hey, parents, be on top of your kids. But unfortunately, we don't have like a lot of these kids are coming from single parent homes where mom's always out and there's no home, so there's plenty of time and space for all these shenanigans to take place. You get what so it really does boil down to parenting, but it also boils down to what we as a society and as a culture decide we're going to elevate. And what's been elevated for the past 50 years, the feminine, clearly hasn't worked, because we see that, like, if these stories are real, they are a reflection of that of that manipulation. Make sense? Hopefully it does. So let's see. Let's talk about Mason and his dad. That's the thing. But once again, I'm just not sure about the validity of these stories. It's coming from this Peggy Orenstein book, and okay, cool. But how much did you make up, Peggy? Like, I guess that's the ultimate question. So yeah, with that being said, yeah, we're done here. All the internet stuff. If you liked it, toss it a like, dislike, go ahead, do that too. Nobody's scared of you. Sub if you enjoy my fantastic voice and you want to get videos like this every single day. Share because sharing is caring. And YouTube and BitChute and like aren't the biggest fans of your boy over here. Bang the bell for notifications and speak. Let me know, what do you think of what do you think in the comments? See, the story, like the headline right here is why today's young men are terrified of sex. The Some of the stories that she gave aren't men terrified of sex. It's just men choosing to withhold or deciding not to, partake in it, which means, it's not, that's not terrified. All right, Eric Spitznagel. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like how, like let me know of your experiences. I mean, I opened up quite a bit with my situation with the adopted sister, but as far as, in regular day-to-day life, that's it's my relationship with women has always been one of like, yeah, you want to smash me, I want to smash you, let's smash together. And but hey, not everybody has the same upbringing, so please let me know what you guys think in the comments. All right, until the next one.